Good day, everyone. Let's look at some of the positives and negatives of living at high altitude. Um, I think it's important because I tried it. I was there for nearly 5 years, and there's good things and bad things about living at high altitude. First, let's go over the positives. Um, and I did a health benefits. I did a Bing, or not a Bing, a DuckDuckGo search, health benefits of high altitude, and the AI returned this information. Living at high altitudes can lead to lower rates of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. Additionally, it may improve lung capacity and overall cardiovascular health due to the body's adaptations to lower oxygen levels. Health benefits of high altitude living. Living at high altitudes offers several health advantages due to the body's adaptations to lower oxygen levels. Here are the key benefits. Reduced rates of chronic disease. Obesity. Residents at high altitude have significantly lower obesity rates compared to those living at sea level. Diabetes. There is a lower incidence of diabetes among individuals living above 5,000 feet. Cardiovascular diseases. High altitude living is associated with reduced rates of coronary artery disease and hypercholesterolemia. Improved physical health. Lung capacity. Exposure to lower oxygen levels enhances lung capacity, allowing for better oxygen absorption. Cardiovascular health. The heart becomes more efficient at pumping blood, which strengthens the cardiovascular system over time. Metabolic changes. Increased red blood cell production. The body produces more red blood cells to compensate for lower oxygen levels, improving oxygen delivery to muscles. Enhanced metabolism. Living in hypoxic conditions can lead to metabolic changes that help protect against metabolic diseases. Mental health benefits. Stress reduction. The challenging environment and beautiful landscapes at high altitude can elevate mood and reduce stress levels. Summary benefits. Lower obesity rates. Residents are 5 times less likely to be obese. Reduced diabetes incidence. Lower rates of diabetes in high altitude populations. Improved lung capacity. Enhanced ability to absorb oxygen. Better cardiovascular health. More efficient heart function. Increased red blood cell production. Boost oxygen delivery to muscles. Enhanced metabolism. Protects against metabolic diseases. And mental health improvement. Elevated mood and reduced stress. I don't know about that, but anyway. These adaptations and benefits highlight the positive impact of high altitude living on overall health. And then we'll talk about some of the mental health findings from a study called, this is from INT Rev Psychiatry, November 2019. Altitude and risk of depression and anxiety, findings from the intern health study. And we got authors here. And we have, I'm just going to read the abstracts. I don't know that we have the whole thing. But we got, anyway, for reasons of time, let's look at the abstract. Multiple studies suggest that the risks of depression and suicide increase with increasing altitude of residents, but no studies have assessed whether changing altitude changes these risks. To address this gap, this study used data from the intern health study, which follows students from the end of medical school through the first year of residency, recording depression via the 9-item patient health questionnaire, PHQ-9, anxiety via the 7-item generalized anxiety disorder questionnaire, GAD-7, and multiple risk factors for these symptoms. Data from 3,764 medical students representing 46 schools and 282 residencies were available. Odds ratios representing the effects of altitude on psychiatric symptoms were estimated using generalized linear models. After excluding participants with missing altitude data, 3,731 medical students were analyzed. high altitude residents greater than 900 meters was significantly associated with PHQ-9 total score and PHQ-9 suicidal ideation. Moving from low altitude to high altitude was significantly associated with PHQ-9 total score, GAD-7 total score, and PHQ-9 suicidal ideation. These data suggest that moving from low altitude to high altitude is associated with increasing symptoms of depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. I'll go ahead and agree there that my time in high elevation, it's just kind of marked by higher anxiety, higher lower mood, and slightly but noticeable higher SI at times. Not very frequently, but anyway, definitely higher than lower elevation. I also noticed slightly less body weight. I don't think I have a number for the A1C at lower elevation. But the cardiovascular health profile, like the lipid panel profile, are pretty much always better at higher elevation than they have been at lower elevation. I don't think I've got a comparison for the RBC. Enhanced metabolism, one thing I will say about metabolism is that, I noticed, going to high elevation, you kind of have don't eat as much. It's like you going from like high elevation or going from like low elevation. You tend to eat. You tend to eat more. You tend to be more hungry. And you go to high elevation, and it's like you get by on like 2 or 2.5 meals a day. It seems like, it's like I just don't get as hungry as much. I don't know if other people experience that as well. And then there's a little bit, slightly less energy at high elevation. I was at slightly. Another thing I noticed is that sleep is affected. For whatever reason, it seems like it's harder to sleep at high. It's like, I would be taking more medicine to help me sleep at high elevation than at low elevation. So I think it's and then sometimes I wake up earlier and I just don't sleep as well at high elevation for whatever reason. I sleep better at lower elevation, less anxiety, improved mood, and more energy. But yeah, like I said, some of these panels, like the lipid panel, I think I weigh maybe 10 pounds more at lower elevation. And I think so I have to work harder to try to maintain a healthy body weight at lower elevation. But at higher elevation, I had better, at least according to the numbers that when you get blood drawn, the numbers, the lipid panels were always better at higher elevation. It was easier to get the lipid panels to a healthy level. I'll check out the RBC and see where that's at. But I did have I think they were a bit higher at higher elevation than they were. I have to double check that, but I think they were. The mental health, like I said, something. It's parts of Colorado and Wyoming and Utah. They're really beautiful places to live, and so and it's actually really, it's called the rain shadow effect, where parts of the a lot of the the weather in Colorado and Wyoming, you're, I don't know if it's like this in Utah too. I guess it probably is. You get many sunny days of the year, so it's not like rainy all the time like it would be like in Seattle or like some places where it rains all the time, or much of the eastern part of the country. And so you're getting a lot of sunny days. Like in Colorado, you get tons of sunny days. So that's good. That could potentially help someone's mood just because of the elevation, east of the Rocky Mountains, in that part of the country. Anyway, so I'll look at the there's another webpage to look at. Here's altitude wellness from welliness.com. How high elevation travel affects longevity. And so they kind of have like 3 different tiers of elevation here. We're talking about like a moderate tier, 1,500 to 2,500 meters, 2,500 to highest 2,500 to 3,500 meters, and extreme is above 3,500 meters. I think that let's see here. We got I just want to say 1 meter. How many feet in meter? So 3.28 feet in 1 meter. And so, if they like Denver is at like 5,000, 5,200 feet, somewhere in there. Probably different locations in the city. So let's see where we got like 5280, and then we got divided by, what would we say? What's the 3.28 divided by 3.28. Whoa. So 1,600 meters. That's 1,600 meters in Denver. So they would classify that as a moderate elevation. Of course, there's like different cities in the world that have like, well, in the United States, one of the higher elevation cities, Santa Fe, New Mexico. I think they're at 7,000 feet. Alto in South America, I think they're over 10,000 feet. So like, but anyway, so the science behind high elevation and longevity. So it's kind of like there's evidence that like people live longer at higher elevation, and it's very likely because of the cardiovascular benefits. So our bodies perform remarkable biological gymnastics when exposed to the thin mountain air. At higher elevations, oxygen levels drop as atmospheric pressure decreases. Think of it like breathing through a straw while climbing stairs. This hypoxic environment strikes a cascade of cellular responses that researchers link to potential longevity benefits. Understanding hypoxia and physiological adaptation. When you ascend beyond 1,500 meters, your body activates survival mechanisms within hours. Special proteins called hypoxia-induced factors, HIF, become cellular conductors, orchestrating changes like increased red blood cell production. These adaptations aren't just temporary fixes, they reshape how our cells manage energy and repair damage. That's a 2022 study in the Journal of Applied Physiology. Environmental and genetic influences. Not everyone adapts equally to mountain living. Genetic variants affecting hemoglobin efficiency appear more frequently in long-term altitude populations. Meanwhile, environmental factors like intense UV radiation create a double-edged sword, boosting vitamin D while demanding rigorous sun protection strategies. Researchers reveal an intriguing pattern. Moderate elevations show optimal health outcomes. At these altitudes, the body's adaptive responses enhance circulation without overtaxing systems. Higher zones may trigger stress responses that counteract potential benefits, highlighting the delicate balance between challenge and overload. One thing you're talking about vitamin UV radiation, it's kind of evident that there's like, I guess this might be in the negative category, is that there's like, like when you spend time outdoors in high elevation, you get sunburn much more quickly than lower elevation. I mean, enough to where, you wouldn't want to spend like all day outside when it's like, the UV index is really high. You don't want to spend all day out because you'll get really burned. But it really only takes like, hour or two. It's just not that. It doesn't take that long a period of time to to get sunburn at high elevation, and compared to like sea level or like 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet. Anyhow, so altitude wellness, how high elevation travel affects longevity. Mountain communities often support a surprising health patterns linked to their elevation. Research reveals a fascinating split: reduced heart disease deaths, but increased respiratory challenges at certain heights. This paradox makes mountain living both protective and demanding. Heart protection through elevation. Between 1,500 and 2,500 meters, the body develops enhanced blood flow and better oxygen use. Studies show 17% lower heart attack rates compared to sea level areas. The heart becomes more efficient at pumping nutrient-rich blood, explains the 2023 Journal of Mountain Medicine report. Respiratory risks in thin air. Higher zones pose challenges for lung health. COPD-related deaths rise 22% above 2,500 meters due to reduced oxygen availability. Those with existing conditions face greater strain during basic activities like walking or climbing stairs. So 2,500. Let's see what. So that puts it above 80. It puts it above 8,000 feet. Like there aren't that many cities in the United States that are above 8,000 feet. Santa Fe, New Mexico is 7,000 feet. But I think it was like only mountain towns would be above 8,000 feet in the United States. Heart health benefits of high altitude living. Mountain dwellers might be onto something special when it comes to heart health. A landmark study by the University of Colorado and Harvard reveals residents at higher altitudes experience 22% lower ischemic heart disease mortality per 1,000 meter elevation gain. Swiss data shows men living above 1,500 meters had 47 fewer coronary deaths per 100,000 people compared to lowland residents. Improves cardiovascular profiles and exercise adaptation. Thinner air triggers remarkable changes in blood chemistry. Residents show lower systemic pressure readings and reduced bad LDL cholesterol levels. The body becomes a leaner, meaner oxygen machine, explains a Colorado researcher. Enhanced cardiac efficiency allows hearts to pump more effectively despite oxygen scarcity. 3 key adaptations stand out: increased hemoglobin production for better oxygen transport, reduced hepcidin levels for improving iron metabolism, enhanced fat burning during physical activity, and lower ischemic heart disease mortality. The numbers tell a compelling story. At 3,000 meters, coronary mortality rates drop nearly 40% to sea level. This stems from multiple factors. Elevation below 300 meters, 289 out of 100,000 more CHD mortality. 104 for women. A 25% improvement for women. Maybe like around that same improvement for men as well. While these benefits are significant, patients with existing cardiovascular disease should consult doctors before relocating. The heart's altitude adaptations work best when developing gradually over time. Yeah, this also talks about cancer and UV exposure, balancing risks and protective factors. Mountain environments create a biological tug-of-war for cancer prevention, while thin air offers surprising protections. Intense sunlight brings new dangers. This delicate balance requires smart strategies for residents and visitors alike. Role of vitamin D and oxygen levels in cancer mortality. Research reveals a silver lining in mountain living: 12% overall or lower overall cancer deaths above 1,500 meters. A 2021 study found breast cancer rates drop 9% at these elevations. Vitamin D from UV exposure acts like a cellular bodyguard, explains an oncology researcher from Colorado State. 3 key factors drive this protection. Enhanced vitamin D production slows abnormal cell growth. Lower oxygen levels may inhibit tumor blood vessel formation. Mountain air reduces inflammation linked to cancer development. So let's look at high altitude living beyond cardiovascular effects. Mountain environments reshape more than just cardiovascular systems. They influence every aspect of human biology, from our largest organs to cellular processes. Elevation leaves its mark through unique environmental pressures and adaptations. Skin and eye health considerations. Sun protection becomes urgent business above 1,500 meters. UV radiation at Vail ski slopes burns skin 3 times faster than New York beaches, 12 minutes versus 45. This intensity drives a 30% melanoma risk jump per 100-meter elevation gain. Eye health also takes hits. 73% of mountain residents report chronic dryness, while Himalayan studies show cataract rates quadruple at extreme heights. And then reproductive and mental health insights. Newcomers often notice biological shifts. Women frequently experience irregular cycles during their first mountain year. Colorado newborns weigh 1 pound less than national averages, suggesting elevation impacts fetal development. Mental health patterns reveal complexity. Suicide risks rise with elevation, but researchers emphasize social factors like housing costs will play equal roles to thin air physiology. Living at height offers rewards but demands awareness. Simple measures, UV blocking goggles, hydration routines, and community support help residents thrive where air meets ambition. Yeah, so I'll stop there, but yeah, it's interesting how you have, like there's positive and negative, it's positive to negative, and everywhere wherever you live in the world, you're gonna have positive and negative effects of living at high elevation. Low elevation, you'll have similar positive and negative effects. A lot of these can be reversed if you go to lower elevation. So yeah, I found this study and I was like, and I thought I would talk about like this because I just noticed like there was increased I don't know, just kind of like at times like I'd feel like just generalized more anxiety and lower just kind of like just generalized, like the whole time I was there, and I mean I was like thinner and my lipid panels were better. My there were things that were slightly better, and there's things that are slightly worse. So anyway, I guess just part of life. Thought I would just discuss that. Hope you have a wonderful day.